Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video for the Third Circle. My name is Pejman Gadimi and I am your host. Today we are discussing a topic called being a peasant. Yes, that is right. And it is about to offend quite a lot of people, which is okay. That's exactly what it is supposed to do. We're going to talk about that and specifically why it's actually very necessary to call people that and why I do it so often and how or why it's misunderstood or misstrued, and as a result, annoys people, gets them frustrated, and puts them in a very defensive place. But before we start, remember to join the conversation through the comments and let me know your thoughts as we discuss this topic. Of course, click like, turn on notifications so that you can be told when we are dropping the next video. As I don't do them regularly, you'll have to check back as to whenever one becomes available. But what's really important here is for you to also make sure you read Third Circle Theory, take my 90-day bootcamp, and are able to put yourself in a better state of mind, and more importantly, into a state of consciousness. So what does all this have to do with consciousness? With quite a lot, because consciousness has a lot to do with perspective and your capacity to understand yourself. And one of the core reasons people get very offended by being called peasants or poor or names is typically because they don't have a way to get out of a truth they are not willing to face. Why would a poor person feel offended if they are called poor? Is there a negative connotation of poor, or does it just have a value? What determines someone to be poor? In the past, many people have argued that poverty is not about money. Actually, it is. Poverty is, and the word poor is about your financial situation and your inability to be financially free. Meaning, what does that mean? Your inability not to buy Ferraris and stuff, but to truly have control over your life. If you wanted to move to a different continent, could you do that today? If you wanted to move to a different state, could you do that just like that and enjoy it there? The idea of wealth is first, before it is about family, about religion, about these things, it is strictly about money. Meaning, you're not a wealthy person, even if you have a family. That doesn't change anything. You have to have money, right? You can't be rich with a family. You have to be rich with money. Later, you can say you're rich all around by having not only been blessed by having money, having financial freedom, and of course, having a family at hand as well. One of the key components of why I call people peasants, or I'll tell you a strategy I've used for now over a decade as I enter rooms, I typically tend to enjoy making people uncomfortable. Within an instant, by labeling people, it creates this discomfort that triggers them. And this trigger shows me how far from the capacity to change they are, how much of their ego is controlling their consciousness. This is very important because you have to understand that a lot of people get stuck in ego, right? Like I would say a lot of people that don't even live past the first circle still live within their ego. Their value system has been crafted for them. It is given to them and they have a definition of what is right, wrong, good, bad, and they cannot escape that prison. For that very reason, those individuals get very offended when someone reminds them that they're in a prison. Imagine going to an inmate in a prison and saying, "You're in a prison." Why would that inmate get angry at that? It's a fact that they face. Is that not truth? If you went to a heavy person and said you're fat, would that make it true or untrue? Wouldn't the person's weight be noticeable to themselves? Would they not know that they're overweight or obese? The only reason the reaction comes is because we don't allow or want others to judge us. And so when we live a life of ego, that ego comes to defend us. Remember, we've talked about ego being the protector, the thing that protects your chakras and protects everything. Ego is the emotion, right? Ego is the thing that prevents you from having a true experience in life, but rather one that is blocked, and more importantly, one that is crafted by the ego, not the self. This is very dangerous, but it's a reality many people live. And so for that reason, I really like to call people peasants or names or anything else, and quickly within a room, within 5 seconds, realize either even on social media by calling people that instantly through the comments, you can tell all of the individuals that live in the first circle, those that understand the second, and of course, those that exist in third. It allows you to differentiate who is living through their ego and who is living through their self. All definitions in the world matter. And how we perceive and which definitions we look at make a significant difference as well. So if we're thinking, for example, like in Gator Choice, we look at the definitions of things. If I call someone poor, everyone has a different view of what is considered poor financially, right? And let's leave your family out of this. Let's think about the financials of it, right? You could say someone who has less than $1 million is poor. I could say someone who has less than $10 million is poor. And Warren Buffett could say someone who has less than $100 million is poor. Now, each perspective holds truth. And this is the beauty of consciousness and evolution, is that there is no ultimate truth until you can negate all truths. I myself consider myself poor because I do not have $100 million. And to someone else's perspective, I would be considered poor. And for that reason, therefore, I am also poor. On the very basis that if I cannot negate someone's perspective of view, then therefore I have to accept it as the better reality than my own. And it benefits me to accept someone's reality of me being poor because it now forces me to aspire to be rich. And you should look at it the same way. If I can say you're poor because you don't have $10 million, you should accept that as a better reality than your own and should work to aspire to break that reality and come to your own truth here so that you can once again feel poor and evolve once more. The reality, though, is most humans aren't ready to evolve. And so when we are called peasants, we are insulted rather than activated to change, right? What is peasantry? It is the stupid act of continuously acting a fool and putting all your priorities that matter secondary to your entertainment. That is a peasant. And yet to have zero level of financial freedom, zero level of comprehension, zero level of consciousness, and yet be in a position to believe your life matters. Most people look at peasantry as something that shouldn't be talked about. We should not mention to people that they're poor. We should not mention to people that they're not doing a good job in their life. We should let them feel happy. This illusion has come in this world, imprisoning people, that the point and the purpose of life is to find happiness. Yet the purpose of life is to find progress. When happiness is linked to progress, happiness is sustainable. When happiness is linked to external factors, happiness, therefore, is not, and is the constant pursuit of it. You ever seen a rich guy drive a Ferrari? He's happy for 5 minutes. Until he sees someone drive a Lamborghini, then he wants that. When he gets the Lamborghini, he's happy for 5 minutes until he gets to see someone in Aston Martin and he wants that. Then at one point he has all the cars, he's still not happy, he wants something else. This never-ending quest is that his happiness is extended to these things. Like we could say, I would be happy if I had found a wife. I would be happy if I had a girlfriend. I would be happy if I had $1 million. But I could give you all of these things and could literally guarantee that you would yet seek the next thing to keep that happiness alive. However, if you actually consciously understood that happiness is directly correlated to your capacity for progress, then you would be in a better position to begin with. Perfect example. Many of us are in relationships. We're happy with the people we're with. That's why we chose them in relationships. Relationship carries on for 5 years. No marriage, no kids, nothing changes. The happiness dies down. Because the happiness is directly linked to progress. Progress isn't occurring. Happiness goes away. That is correct happiness. That is powerful happiness because it is forcing the body, the mind, and the consciousness to find a means to progress. And it should be going into depression when it doesn't have that progress because a body, a mind, and a soul that isn't advancing is one that is dying. Indecision is depression. Incapacity to move forward is depression. So you have to understand these things and you have to understand that calling someone what they are does not change the reality of the situation, even though it may offend people. One of the things you have to understand about weak people is that they like to team up. Often when you call someone poor, other poor people like to step up to feel like their job is to alter. It's like bullying, right? Like you see a bully and you see other people being like, hey, you shouldn't do that, right? Even if someone is bullied, it is their opportunity to learn to defend themselves. At an early age, it is the opportunity of a child to understand resistance and to understand the dynamic that the world is not going to flow with you at peace all the time. And to understand that that fear has to be overcome. It is to understand that the pain has to be overcome. And it is up to parents not to just say, I will alter this and change this, but rather to say, I will help this person overcome this. So these are all real facts that people are running away from because of their egos. And I really really hope that more people can get over this idea that no one owes you anything. And if someone is calling you something, it just doesn't matter. What matters is the reality you face. If you're overweight, then change. That's it. There's no reason you can't, so do. Don't worry about why, just do. If the trigger was someone calling you fat, good. It still created change. So if someone calls you poor, understand the perspective of why would you be poor in that person's eyes? Why would you be a peasant in that person's eyes? And if you can come to that reality on your own, negate all aspects that they could have had and said, hey, maybe he's right. Then you will realize that once you forego the emotional reaction to the judgment, you will understand that there is an absolute truth that lies under there that needs to be dealt with before it's too late. Anyways, there you have it. So make sure you click turn on your notifications. Make sure you comment. Do you agree with my strategy? Do you agree with the way I speak? Or do you think that it's just pure craziness? Looking forward to hearing your comments, and I'll catch you on the next video for the third circle.